Is persistent, but I would like to focus on semi-persistent chemicals because that's the ones that we really are to be most concerned about at present. We have a large number of chemicals that are very stable. They reach out into the environment and not until they get into organism they are transformed, leading to a rapid transformation into a number of metabolites and degradation products. They can also be degraded in the environment. But this is the major concern, and it's really a shift from the past. And this is what we actually see among all of those that we have. Next slide, please. As you may have seen on the previous slide, there came out a report 2013 from UNEP and WHO that has a number of key concerns listed. These one of the key concerns that we worked on and that I would like to guide you through from the very first or second slide here, 3 strands of evidence fuels concern over endocrine disruption. And it's actually that this is nothing new. We have known about endocrine disruptors for long. Bisphenol A was reported in the 30s to be an endocrine disruptor, not good enough to compete with the diethylstilbestrol, but still an endocrine disruptor. We knew from the 70s, work done in the early 70s, that the menstrual cycle, for example, in rats and mice, was disrupted by some of the persistent environmental contaminants. So we took use of actually what we saw experimentally in those 2 cases. Then the second line of evidence being built up for endocrine disruption is in the environment. This is mainly done on wildlife effects, that declining population, quite dramatic effects that we don't want to see in humans. I hear sometimes that we should have causality for what is seen in epidemiological studies. I would rather not see effects in humans in this way. Of course not. Unfortunately, we still do, especially from accidents. And from accidents, we learn a lot. How unfortunate it is. We have accidents with, one of the incidences with diethylstilbestrol, TCDD, the dioxins give very clear evidence for effects in humans. Of course, the last step here on my bullets is that we have trends, changes in trends, and changes that cannot be explained by genetic factors, other environmental factors. So this is something that is really of big concern, which led the group, to next slide please, actually state that disease risk due to EDCs may have be significantly underestimated. And this is something that I hope you will bear with you. Next slide, please. There is a complex world of anthropogenic chemicals. I just listed a few of these. Starting from the pharmaceutical side, we have a couple of thousand pharmaceutical or active ingredients making up the pharmaceuticals. Some of these have been designed to be endocrine active on the systems because they are used for curing certain disorders. Others may have effects of the same type. Current use pesticides, the old pesticide, the old family of pesticides were all persistent organic pollutants, which was learned by industry not to be the way forward. Current use pesticides are what I call semi-persistent, being unstable in vivo, leading to metabolites and degradation. Sometimes the metabolites have higher effects than the parent compound. I don't have the exact number of current use pesticides, but it's a number. The chemicals in materials and goods, and I mean, this is an enormous number. At least according to REACH, we are talking about approximately 140,000 chemicals. Most of these are hopefully inactive in this context. But still, if you look into the number of metabolites being formed, it's a very large number that are indeed formed. Cosmetics and personal care products, when I looked that up quite recently, they list in COSING, the EU database, approximately 25,000 different chemicals. For then we have additives in food, and then contaminants in water. I have no number on that one. And the last one I already listed. So there is a very large number of chemicals that are man-made. Next slide, please. And it was a month ago, 997 EDCs or potential EDCs were listed in TEDx database. And I mean, some 10, 15 years ago, it was simple because it was POPs, PCBs, DDTs, dioxins, maybe some brominated diphenyleters that were up listed. Now you see actually any area of chemicals you find endocrine disruptors. And if you go for the next one, actually a fair number of the 997, I haven't counted them, belongs to pesticides. Others belong to industrial chemicals. And metabolites. In the industrial chemicals, it's also those that has been banned, and it's very similar chemicals in many cases among the PCBs and dioxins, for example. But they are also, in this case, listed together with the effect. The effect in this case is related to EAT, estrogenic, androgenic, and thyroidogenic effects. Next slide, please. Bisphenol A. Bisphenol A has been heavily discussed. And my concern is that it's being so much discussed that if you press once more, you actually see I think it's 16 very similar structures that is commonly then substituting the bisphenol A. Some are preferred substitutes, but how to handle this? What I've seen is that also the substitutes, very similar structures, do have endocrine active effects. Next slide, please. But it's not only the chemical side that is complex, it's also the hormone system. We are talking about 50 hormone systems. We are talking about maybe some 100 active natural hormones that are acting in the body. Oh, please, Henrik, can. Okay. It was nothing wrong with my shoulder. But you saw his reaction. That's a low-dose effect. It's a low-dose effect that is neurological. It's not an EDC effect. But it's an effect that you can imagine that also happens. I have no good play to do when it comes to EDC effects on Henrik. But it's the same. We are talking about picomolar, very low concentration. Everyone knows about nanoparticles. Now we are talking about 1,000 times lower concentrations, picomolar. That's where hormones can act, up to micromolar, or maybe even more. But so there is reactions. In this case, is adrenaline. So I'm a little careful now. Next slide, please. And this is, I mean, the hormone system is actually steering the rest of our lives, and also from the very, very start, and even before. When I say even before, we didn't put that into this slide. What's the oocytes in the newborn baby? what's the epigenetic effects with results on the next generation. A number of effects that I'm used my 10 minutes here. So I one more and last slide. That as a chemist, environmental chemist, I would say a plea to you politicians: how long do you stand that we use tax money for searching what is already known by industry, what is being put into products, materials, and goods? Because that's millions of euros that just go to search for what is already known. This is something to deal with. Next slide. Or next. Manifestation of mixtures, I'm not sure. I mean, with all these chemicals, also as the chair said in the introduction, it's expected to have mixture effects between very, very different groups of chemicals. What we have done so far is to look into mainly similar chemicals, except for some few studies where a little more complex studies have been done. So there's a lot more to do on that. Next slide. Low dose effects, yes, I showed that. Next. Which is what I think is very important. We have to be proactive. We cannot just react on what is shown. Causality on humans is one of those that I can just say that, well, that's not where we want to be. We have to find ways forward. Thank you.